Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast where today we're going to be ranking the biggest transfer news and rumors in the world of football and we're putting them into a tier list. At the top, we've got game changer. Second, we've got great move. Third, we've got sensible transfer. In fourth, we've got risky business. And finally, in last place, don't do it. And who are we going to be starting off with, Toby?
Yeah, let's just jump straight into what could be the biggest transfer of the summer. It is Florian Wirtz to Liverpool, a package looking up to 130 million euros for the German youngster. And what a player he is and has been over the last 2 years. 29 goal contributions this season in the league, in Champions League, and it was 30 the season before that in the league and Europa League. Supremely talented player, slots straight into that number 10 position very nicely. And as a Liverpool fan, Mev, you must be pretty excited about this one, surely.
Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. It feels like a very uncharacteristic of a Liverpool signing to spend over £100 million. Yes, Liverpool have made bids previously for players for that much, but they never got quite over the line. Whereas this one, it seems by all the reporting, Wirtz himself has come out and rubbished some rumours, but at the same time, he's kind of semi-pseudo confirmed some others about him going to Liverpool. It seems like he's got his eyes on the Reds, and I think it'd be a massive statement signing. Arguably, you could say as big as when Erling Haaland joined from Borussia Dortmund to Manchester City. It could be that kind of level of a great signing for the club. I think potentially there are some question marks though about that positioning and where he's going to play. I've seen some people say he's going to play in number 10, like you suggested. Some people say he might play off the left. Some people say he's going to be playing as a false nine instead of the striker signing that Liverpool need. Wherever he's going to play, I know he's one of those. He's an absolute world beater and he's only 22. It is so exciting. So wherever he plays, I'm happy as long as Arne Slot can fit him in somewhere. And I think wherever he's going to play, he's going to do an absolutely phenomenal job. And I mean, it's not over the line yet. We haven't got a here we go yet from Fabrizio Romano. But if it happens, which it looks like it will, I will be absolutely over the moon. I think he's a fantastic, fantastic player.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, with the amount of positions he can play, I think that just shows his quality that wherever he would play in those positions, I think he would be excellent. He can play off the left because he's a fantastic dribbler and a carrier. And even up front, I think if you had somebody in that 10 who's sort of happy to occasionally run on past him and he can drop in and so have that bit of interchange would be really, really nice with them. Um, for me, this is a pretty easy one and a pretty easy one to go into game changer, I would say. Do you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's a lot of pressure for a 22 with a massive fee. But if there's only a handful of players in world football I'd be spending this much money on, and I think Verts has to be one of them. And yeah, for me, I absolutely have him in game changer as well. So that is the first player we have put down and straight away into the very top tier. But what about Brian and Mbumo? The Brentford attacker is being linked with the move to Manchester United. Reports are saying that he only has eyes for the Red Devils and that he wants to join them and Ruben Amorim and his current project. What do you make of the player and what do you make of the fit if he were to join Manchester United?
Yeah, it just shows again what pull Man United have, despite the sort of position they found themselves in at the end of this season, that they can still attract who has probably been one of the most informed forwards in the Prem this season. Just gone, he hit that 20 goal mark. Brentford were amazing. He was probably their best player, alongside Whistler, if not their best player, straight out. It's looking like Brentford are going to be asking for around 65, 70 million. There's rumours of an initial bid of around 45 to 50 million with some add-ons. I think it's an absolutely fantastic signing. I think he is a really, really good player. The only question I have is, does he fit that Amorim system well? As in, he is, when he plays on the wing, he does like to be really, really wide. Whereas Amorim, those two forwards behind the striker, they like to be a little bit more central and almost behave more like tens at times. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits into that side, I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think though there are times when Brentford play with a 5-3-2 when they're playing against some of the bigger sides and defending a bit more deeper. And he is up front very much so with Johan Visser. So he is a front two, and so he is playing in those central channels a bit more than the wide ones. So I think in terms of fit, I think actually it's probably perfect, especially when you consider the fact that Brentford are coming up against opposition who are attacking them and they're not sitting back there having a go, which you expect. And I'm going to say this, with my fingers crossed, that Man United are probably going to be better next season because hopefully for their sake they can't get much worse. So he will be playing against a low block, and I think operating in a more central area might actually be a benefit. I will say though, I think the fee. It's funny saying this on the back of talking about Florian Wirtz on 100 million plus, but I think the fee, if it is near a 70, is a little bit steep because I think about when I think about transferability from one club to another. Yes, 20 goals and 7 assists, but 5 of those were penalties. And if the rumours are to believe that Bruno Fernandes is staying, I doubt that Bruno is going to be on penalties. So that's more like 15 goals and 7 assists, 22 attacking returns. Still phenomenal. And it's only a minor thing I have a worry, but I don't think he's. You would hope he's probably going to hit 20 goals a season, but he's probably not going to do so, especially when he's going to be part of an attacking unit. So, but I still think in general the signing is massively positive and definitely highlights the fact that Man United are getting a very, very good player, one of the league's best last season.
Yeah, and I think when you combine it with that fee, that's where maybe ranking this one is a little bit difficult. I'm torn between great move and game changer because I think he will add so much to Man United's attack that has been so dull this season and somebody that they really, really need. So I'm torn between those two. I don't know whether it's definitely not as good as a transfer as Wirtz, I wouldn't say, but Man United aren't in as good a position as Liverpool, so could it still be a game changer for them?
Oh, I wonder if maybe Cunha and Mbumo together you could classify as game changers, but could you identify either of them individually? Maybe. I mean, you could definitely make an argument for it. Um, I think Cunha is probably the perfect player because he played that system already in the left-sided 10 position. Got I think 15 goals and maybe 7 assists from open play in the league for Wolves. He was a talisman. I think Boomer, like you said, the style, it's very close fit, but not necessarily perfect. But you can see him adapting quite well. I'd probably go great move, but very close to game changer.
Yeah, I'm happy to go for that as well. I think and maybe save game changer for those that like those elite transfers potentially. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think a lot of clubs are operating really well and smartly nowadays with data analysts behind them. So not a lot of them are going to be making terrible moves. I think a lot of them are going to be on the more positive side. Is that what you think of Benjamin Sesko, who is potentially moving to Arsenal? Arsenal, as we know, desperately need a striker. Everyone's been saying it. Everyone's been saying it for last season and the season before. Do you now think that maybe Benjamin Sesko is the right person from RB Leipzig?
this is a really difficult one and one I'm not sure on. I think if this type of move of Benjamin Sesko, he's only 22 years old, if this was maybe 3 seasons ago, potentially even 4 seasons ago, and he was this age profile, this sort of player, I would be saying 100% this is a fantastic move. This squad is sort of building to something. He is a striker building on his game still. Whereas now, I feel like with this season coming up being a bit of a deal breaker for Arsenal and for Arteta, maybe we need a little bit more of a ready-made striker and somebody who can come straight into the team, score goals, link up the play, and be an absolute game changer for Arsenal. Is Sesko that man? At the moment, I'm not too sure. Could he be that man in maybe 2 or 3 years' time? Absolutely, because I think he's got incredible potential and he already looks very, very good for his age. I'm I'm just not 100% convinced, to be honest.
Okay, well, he's 22 years of age, got 21 goals and 6 assists in all competitions for RB Leipzig last season from 45 matches played. He's 6'5", he's strong, athletic, wins large proportion of his aerial duels. He's fast, he progresses the ball really well, he carries the ball really well. What are you worried about with Sesko? Is it his age? If he was maybe 24, 25 doing this, would you feel more confident? Is there anything particular that you don't quite feel like he might bring, Toby?
Yeah, I'm just not sure. It's going to sound a bit ridiculous, but I'm not sure how much better he is than Havertz playing up front at the moment. I think their link-up play and their aerial ability, I think, is fairly similar. I think what Shesko does bring potentially is maybe slightly better finishing. But then you're looking at 17 goals in the league and Champions League this season, just gone in around 32 90s, which is the output that we saw from Kai Havertz when, again, he was playing probably for a better side in Arsenal, maybe. But still, an output that isn't too dissimilar. So I'm not too sure if it's that much of an upgrade and maybe not that much of an upgrade in the areas that we need from a striker in terms of that clinical finishing. Um, So I think it would be a good move. I'm just not sure if it would maybe be the best move that Arsenal could get.
Okay, this is quite interesting because I didn't expect this from you, I'll be honest. Do you think that with the massive links to Isak, and obviously Isak being the best striker, the one that every club outside of Newcastle would probably want, do you think though that anyone else kind of seems like a downgrade in comparison? Is that maybe where your head's at?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think you're looking at Isak. You're looking at. I think even Gyökeres. I think maybe is a bit more ready-made and he's a pure goal scorer. And I think maybe that's just what Arsenal need a little bit more um, at the moment, anyway.
Okay, well, I tell you what, because I think maybe because of all the talk and the conjecture, I think Arsenal just need to get a strike in the door and then start to see him play and then go, okay, no, they probably are fine. I think the fee is quite steep though for Sesko, apparently upwards of 80 million euros, which, like you said, there are a couple of questions. I mean, he's still young in relatively in terms of age, but not necessarily in terms of experience. I'm going to put in Sesko in great move, and I honestly am a bit surprised by his speculation about him, but you probably got him in great move as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's difficult because I think it's.
Do you think it's risky?
I know. I think it's either great move or risky business. But you can't put it in sensible because it doesn't feel like a sensible transfer.
Too expensive, yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly see him coming in and being really good and scoring goals and fitting right in. But I could also see it maybe just like you said for the fee not being as much of an upgrade as you would hope would be reflected in that fee. So I think for the player and their potential, great move. But I still think it could be it could be a little bit risky.
Oh, okay.
But I'm happy to go for a great move because I think I'm just being a pessimistic, scared Arsenal fan who's worried about not winning a trophy again. So
Yeah, maybe. Okay, let's put him in great move for now, and we will make final changes at the end. But let's talk about another striker in the Bundesliga. This time, it's Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt being linked with a move to Chelsea for a fee of around 100 million euros, so 20 million euros plus more than Benjamin Sesko. Similar age, 22 years of age, 19 goals, 11 assists in all competitions, 15 goals and 8 assists of those in the league. Interestingly, only two players in Europe's top five leagues have won more than 50 aerial duels and completed 50 take-ons at the same time. One was Antoine Semenyo this season, and the other one was Ekatike. So tells you that the fit could be there. He looks like a very promising talent. But do Chelsea need him if they've already got Nicolas Jackson and they've also just signed Liam Delap?
yeah, this would be a really interesting move, and I'm not sure how things would really work out for them because I know Ekatike can play on the wing if needed as well. He's just a very good dribbler, very good carrier. Yeah, is this the player that Chelsea need to go and spend that much money on with Delap as well being there? And who is going to be that starting striker next season is going to be very strange if all of these moves go through. He has also had links to Liverpool and Villa, so he's a player in demand. But Chelsea seem to be pushing ahead, which, yeah, Delap, yeah, it's going to be really, really weird. And maybe it's just another one of those Chelsea signings where it just feels strange and just they're signing so many players at the moment.
It also feels strange because of his age profile, doesn't it? Because Jackson is 23, Delap is 22, Ekatike is 22, turning 23 before the start of the season. So they're all the same age, and it feels like maybe they need an experienced guy up front, and they've gone for players of the similar age. So they're figuring things out together rather than learning off someone else. So that's interesting. And the reason why I mentioned Ekatike then was Sesko Ekatike, two strikers, same age, same league, same country they're playing in at the moment, being linked with English clubs. Are they potentially in the same boat where it could be a great move, but it could also be risky business? Obviously, Ekatike is, well, apparently Eintracht Frankfurt are asking for 20 million euros more. Did that maybe push him into risky business considering he didn't quite work out for him at PSG, or is that potentially too harsh?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think they have pretty similar numbers, and I think their talent in terms of their all-round game, I think they're quite good at different things. Is fairly similar, which is why I think if Ekatike I think is seen as a little bit of a risky move, then Seshko would be as well. if they do get it though, and they are able to sort out who their starting striker is, and if Ekitike comes in and does absolutely fantastic and becomes their starting striker, maybe then they move on Jackson or Delap and see these young players as less risky moves because they know they could move them on and sell them if needed. I think he's a great player, and I think probably if Šeško's going into a great move, then maybe Ekitike needs to join him because I think they're both quality players.
I tell you what, I think because Arsenal need a striker and they need someone like Sesko, I think that's why I was kind of like, great move, maybe risky. I don't think Chelsea need Hugo Ekitike, and especially for the fee. I mean, I know Chelsea are probably good for it. They've spent a lot of money already this summer, and they probably will. But I think for me, if you've got Delap, he's not going there without a guarantee of a certain amount of minutes. Now, obviously, now that he's signed it through the door, he can break that promise no matter what. It's fine. But for me, I'll put Ekitike for Chelsea in don't do it. I don't think they I don't think they need him. I think if there was like apparently Al Nasser in Saudi Pro League want Victor Osimhen. If Chelsea went for Victor Osimhen, I'd be like, yes, maybe even game changer, not even just great move. But I think for Ekitike to Chelsea, when they've already got Jackson who's 23, Delap who's 22, selling another player at that age for the price, I put it in don't do it. Um, yeah, I think the club makes a massive difference here.
Yeah, it's a good point. I suppose it could sort of end up being similar to a position like in Kunku, where they've got a player who we know can be real quality, but just doesn't fit in the squad because of the other players that are already there. Don't do it. Yeah, like you said, it's the club. It's a club's big issue, but I think he could still be Chelsea's best striker if he signs. I think he probably would be Chelsea's best striker if he signs. I'd maybe go risky. I'd maybe go risky business.
Risky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll put Ekatike in risky business. I feel like that one might be one where we might change at the end. Okay. Let's go next to Ryan Cherky of Lyon. He's rumored to be moving to Manchester City. It seems like the deal is on. We just haven't got a here we go yet from Fabrizio Romano. But for a fee around about £30 million, it seems like a bit of a bargain, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can't believe how cheap he is. Really, I was also going to say I can't believe that Man City have just gone straight in and got him, but I think that's because it is just Manchester City that when the money's not an issue in this deal, that the player can almost pick, and why would you not want to go to Manchester City? Absolute bargain. 19 assists in the league in Europa League last season. His creative numbers in terms of expected assists and assists per 90 are off the charts, as are his passing stats as well, which I'm sure is a massive thing for Guardiola in terms of progressive passes and passes attempt. Are really, really high for sort of that attacking mid and winger category, which he is. He can play anywhere along that midfield. And he is really, really good, really talented, still so young, only 21. If this was to any other club, it would be a game changer for me, and I think he should be going into the first team for most clubs. Because it's Manchester City, does maybe that bring it down a little bit because their squad is already so good?
Oh, maybe. I think it's fair to say. I mean, he did phenomenally last season. 19 goals, 12 assists in all competitions for a side who finished, I think, outside the Champions League places in League A. And he tore it up in the Europa League for Lyon as well. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think his age as well is really, really impressive. When you think about that new look Man City midfield, where is Jurgen going to line up? I think it might be in competition with Phil Foden. I think it's one where Phil Foden really, really needs to be careful. I think we need to see the Phil Foden, not of this season, but of the one previously where he got the PFA Player of the Year, because Cherky is more than capable of hitting the ground running, being absolutely phenomenal, and then maybe putting Phil Foden out of a place in that Man City squad completely. I mean, he's that good. So if it wasn't for the fact, I agree with you, that it wasn't for Man City, because they got so many game changers, you could put him there. I think I would want to put him into great move. I don't know, though, if I put him ahead or behind of Brian Mbeumo for Manchester United, though. I think the fee maybe edges him just ahead, potentially.
Yeah, he's definitely not a game changer because he's not going to change Manchester City's sort of attacking. I mean, you've even got Marmoush as well, which is like, where did these amazing players fit in? How do you get them all in? I think Mbeumo is going to have a lot more of an impact on United than Cherki would on Manchester City. But in terms of the signing, I mean, Manchester City could sell him, I think, the day after for like 50, 60 million easily, Cherki. So in terms of just a business standpoint, it is an amazing move. Um, I put Brian Mbeumo edges it for me over Cherki, I would think, because I think Mbeumo is closer to being a game changer.
Do you know what? I can agree with you on that. I think there's always an adjustment period with Man City and players who join Pep Guardiola's side. So maybe he'll take him a little bit of time, but at 21, I think, yeah, it's not going to take him too long considering how good a player he is. But if we move on then to, let's go next. Let's go for Leroy Sané from Bayern Munich to Tottenham Hotspur. Because this is a very interesting one because Leroy Sané is out of contract at the end of this summer, but it seems like Bayern Munich are still negotiating for a new contract. Talks were apparently being held about a new contract, and Sane was ready to accept a wage cut. However, then when an offer was tabled, it then came out in the papers that apparently Sane wasn't happy with the proposed wage amount, which kind of contradicts what was being said before. So it's all a bit of a mess. Maybe the links to Tottenham are just a ploy to try and get Bayern to stump up a bit more cash. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this one. I don't see the fit personally, but how do you see it, Topes?
I think it'd be a really good move for Spurs, if anything. I don't know if he. I don't really know what his pressing is sort of like, which I think will be a big thing for Spurs and Ange's system. But I think he's still a real quality player. I think there's still a lot of talent there. I think could be a fantastic squad player at the very least for Spurs. And for a free, I think it would 100% be worth a punt. Like you said, is this really going to happen? Is Bayern Munich actually going to let him go on a free? I'm not too sure. But yeah, even for Arsenal, I would love him in the squad. I think he would do a great job there. So I think at Spurs as well, especially with Champions League football and the cup competitions, I think it'd be a really really good move actually.
Really? Okay. Well, the reason why I was a bit pessimistic about the move is because he's 29, and there's obviously a tag with Sane of those injury prone. Well, I looked at his last 5 seasons, and in the league he's made over 30 appearances in the last 4 out of 5, and the one he didn't was 23-24, but he still made 27 appearances, and in all of those 5 seasons he's got at least 15 attack and returns. The thing was for me was the fact that he's 29, and at the moment he's reportedly on £250,000 a week, and Tottenham Hotspur's most expensive player, the player on the most wages, is Heung-min Son on 190,000. So for Daniel Levy to then break the bank to sign probably a big signing on fee and give it to Leroy Sané, but then make him the highest paid player at the club, while he has still made a lot of appearances, he's not getting any younger. And the fact that, think about the intensity and the physicality of the Premier League. You think about what kind of style of football Ange Postecoglou will be playing if he is still at the club at the time of recording. He still is. Is he going to become more injury prone? To me, it just seemed like risky business. It seemed like risky business, but a one that could pay off. But I'm not sure if it would. Maybe for a year, but I'm not sure it would be longer than that. And he probably want a long-term contract. I don't know.
Yeah, I think just for the short term for Spurs, I think it'd be really good. I mean, you're looking sort of 2 or 3 years, and then sort of try and move him on after that, or he'd probably want to go. I think for now, I'm maybe just looking too short term, but I think for next season, I think it would be a great move. It could be a risk, like you say, with the wages, but as you said, he was potentially happy to take a wage cut at Bayern Munich. Maybe he will be realistic and get a wage cut whenever he moves. But I think the player you're getting without a transfer fee, I think could sort of outweigh where that money is going in terms of wages. So I would personally go great move, or it's not. It doesn't feel sensible either because there is a bit of risk, like you said. So I would probably go for great move, but I'm happy to go for risky business maybe as well. I understand what you mean.
Um, yeah, he has played in the Premier League before. He did really, really
Yeah,
well.
he was brilliant at City.
Yeah, yeah, he's arguably one of my favorite players to watch. We'll put him in a great move, even though the finances probably don't have, and neither is the age. But I think if Daniel Levy was to go out and was to try and be a little bit more ambitious and break that wage structure and finally maybe give the Spurs fans a little bit more ambition and show it, Leroy Sané is a really exciting player and one that you probably wouldn't mind doing that too. So yeah, let's go with Leroy Sané in great move. How about a player from the Championship? Well, looks like Joe Bellingham will not be staying at Sunderland and he will be moving to Borussia Dortmund, the club of his older brother as well. Made 40 appearances in the Championship this season, 39 of those starts. Plays in the left sided eight, and he's a very good all round midfielder. I suppose 30 million euros is what being touted is a very sensible fee. The question is, I don't quite know what a ceiling is because I don't. It's very hard to compare him to Jude. I think he's a very good player in his own right, but I don't quite think he's going to hit that ceiling. But in terms of a move for a 19-year-old from the Championship, it's a very, very good move for him personally, isn't it?
Yeah, I quite like this move actually. I think it could work out quite well because I think with him coming up into the Premier League, I think as is going to be the case for most promoted sides, I think in the next few years it's going to be difficult for him to really show his quality and to be in a side that's going to be playing good enough football. I think for him to shine and to improve at Sunderland next season, I think they are going to struggle a little bit, and I think for him to stay there is a bit of a risk, really. Whereas we know these young English players can go to Dortmund, get fantastic development there at an elite club, and really thrive. And I feel like this is just a good fit of a move, and maybe it's not going to be the Hollywood story of Jude Bellingham, but I still think for him and for the club, for me, this is a sensible move. The transfer fee is not looking too much. Sunderland will get a decent chunk of cash. Dortmund will get a great player. The player's going to thrive. I think this, for me, has got sensible written all over it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Who knows what he's capable of in the future? I think they probably will recoup the money if they do sell him on one day, and if he doesn't quite hit the heights of Jude Bellingham, which is incredibly hard to do because he's a world class player already at 21, then I'm sure they can still probably get maybe 50 or 60 million from him at the very minimum. So yeah, let's put Joe Bellingham in sensible, and then let's move on to Kevin De Bruyne to Napoli. It looked like when his contract expires that the two options on the table were going to be the MLS and it's going to be the Saudi Pro League. But all of a sudden, with his form picking up in the back end of last season, it now looks like the Serie A champions Napoli are going to be going after him. I, for one, I really like this move, mate. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so too as well. I think he's still got a lot to give, as we saw at the end of last season. Like you said, Antonio Conte staying, Napoli back in the Champions League. They look like a completely different side and a really really good side, and a side that I think De Bruyne could fit into as well. I think if he's into that midfield, and you've got players like McTominay and Gilmore in there as well, who probably do have more of the legs and are fantastic runners and hard workers. It maybe does give De Bruyne that little bit more freedom, where his fitness isn't as good as it used to be and his running isn't as good as it used to be the one sort of pulling the strings in that midfield. And I think it works. It works for both sides. I really think it does, especially with them going back into the Champions League as well. To have that experience of Kevin De Bruyne is a huge plus for them.
Yeah, I think if you're a top side now playing in many competitions, trying to go far in as many as possible, you need to have a good squad, and I think he definitely adds that. Despite the fact that he was injured last season, he still played 40 appearances in all competitions, and I think Napoli could definitely do that. Even in some games, maybe it's coming off the bench. In some of the more important games, maybe it's starting, depending on his fitness and form. But I think this is a fantastic move for Napoli, and I think at the very least this is sensible. But because of how good a move and fit in terms of Kevin De Bruyne and Napoli, I was tempted to even put it in maybe like a great move. I wasn't quite sure about which one, but sensible at the very least, I think.
Yeah, I think sensible is appropriate because I think he's probably is going to be on high wages. I don't think he's going to be a massive game changer for Napoli because they are already a really quality side and they have a very nice system, and maybe sort of trying to get him in at times we won't disrupt things, but we'll take a job to do so. And under a great manager as well, I think De Bruyne will be good. I think sensible is fair. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, in that case, let's put him in sensible and let's try and get a goalkeeper out the way. Let's do Juan Garcia from Espanyol to Barcelona, who was heavily linked with some English clubs and likes of Arsenal being back up to David Raya, was linked with Newcastle, was linked with Manchester United to be their first choice as well. But in the end, it looks like he's going to be going to Barcelona. I think we've got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano as well, 25 million euros. Have you seen a lot of him this season? And do you think it's a good move for the player and for Barcelona?
I can't say I've seen a lot of him, but I think this transfer window with that release clause that he has, and a lot of clubs interested, he must be of good quality. No doubts, especially for Barca to come in from their Catalan rivals as well. Um, I think it's an interesting one for Barca because obviously they do still have Ter Stegen, who's been out injured, and Chesney's come in, who I think is going to be signing or has signed an extension to that deal as well. Um, so this one feels like more of a move for the future, that sort of Ter Stegen replacement. And I think Barca have seen an opportunity to get that in now, get them into the club, and maybe sort of slowly work him into that being that first choice goalkeeper. So yeah, it feels like a very sensible move, not to give a spoiler of where I think it should go in the tier list.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're definitely planning for the future, but I don't, like you said, I don't really know what they're going to do next season with Chesney, Ter Stegen back. They still got Inaki Pena, who played 15 matches in La Liga last season, and the fact that Juan Garcia's come in and at 24 years old, 75.5% save percentage across the entire league. And also, he was a goalkeeper with the best post shot expected SG with plus 7.7. So he prevented 7.7 goals being scored, the best in all of La Liga. So maybe he goes back on loan, but I think he's definitely one for the future. And I think Barcelona have done a very sensible move, like you said, and securing the future in terms of in goal. So whack him in sensible.
Yeah, let's do it. That sounds good to me.
Okay, and then why don't you take us off and talking to us about the other goalkeeper on our list, Mike Maignan from AC Milan to Chelsea.
Yeah, this one feels a lot more exciting, I would say, in terms of where he's going from, where he's going to, the situations of both teams, situation of his contract as well. 1 year left, not looking like he's going to be signing a new deal. So Chelsea could be picking him up for around 25 million, which is really good still for someone who was revered as probably the best goalkeeper in Europe. I would say 2 or 3 seasons ago when Milan had that fantastic campaign. Really, really good keeper, fantastic shot stopper, and a position that Chelsea really need. Finally, they're not signing another striker or another winger or something like that. They're actually going for a goalkeeper, which they need. Not that they haven't signed about 100 goalkeepers in the last few windows anyway. But yeah, I think last season has highlighted that is a position they certainly need. I don't think there's any confidence in the club in Sanchez or Jorgensen to really step up and be that first choice keeper. And for me, Mignon would come in straight away as their first choice number one and would be a really, really good signing for them, I think, if it can happen. Whether this is one of those rumours to get a nice new deal from Milan, I'm not too sure. But if they can get him, it would be amazing.
I really, really like the signing made, honestly. I think, like you said, it breaks the kind of mold of what we've been seeing under Todd Bowley clearly, of signing younger players, long contracts, huge potential, great upside. But he's someone who maybe he's a market opportunity because he's got 1 year left on his contract. The rumoured fee is around to be around £25 million. I think if Chelsea were to get that, I mean, that's arguably one of the three positions we keep on saying with Chelsea all the last season that they need to improve: striker, centre back, and goalkeeper. Since they've already got Liam Delap as a striker, maybe not quite the right age profile, but you can say they've got a striker. Goalkeeper, at least with Mike Mannion, you can say he's the right age profile, he's the right experience, he's everything you need. He's got a great amount of touches in the game, which means he's great with the ball at his feet. He's great in terms of being a sweeper keeper as well. Arguably, could it be much better than this? And maybe I'm giving it away, but I do have to say that one thing: his shot stopping this season wasn't great. It wasn't as good as it could have been, but to give him a little bit of leeway, none of the entire AC Milan side were really that good this season. Obviously, they had a very dismal season, not finishing in Europe at all. But if he can find his form, like you said, this is potentially, in my opinion, a game changer. Is that too ambitious?
I don't think so. I think for Chelsea, it could be Kendrick. I mean, he's 29 years old, which for a goalie is not that old anyway. It is the position that they need. I think it could be a game changer. I think it would. Yeah. As it's not as an exciting move maybe as the other ones, and maybe yeah, not the big name, but yeah, for Chelsea, I think it is a game changer. Yeah.
Okay, Mike Mannion in game changer. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And let's stick with AC Milan for a moment and let's talk about Luka Modric, who, when I saw this, I thought, no chance, this is just paper talk. But it looks like there's some credibility going behind it and looks like it could happen. And an iconic player playing for an iconic club on a free transfer. Yes, he's 39, but I think it's one of those things where I never thought it was going to happen. And I just really want to see Luka Modric in an AC Milan kit, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, mate. I absolutely love this. I think this is brilliant. still think he's got a lot to give, Modric as well. I think you just can't even think about his age. You just have to watch him still, and there's still such a good player there who can bring so much, and not just experience, which I think we sort of push these older players towards. Oh, they just bring experience. He's still got real quality. His stats are still really good for passes and carries, and I think he can come into that Milan side that need a bit of an improvement next season. I think he can do a lot for them. Won't be playing 90 minutes every week, but I think he'll be able to get 60 minutes here, some sub appearances there, and really build them. I think back up next season to where they need to be. And like you say, it'd be great to see a player leaving on a free from a big club, not going to like the Saudi League or the MLS and just sort of saying, "Oh, this is the end of the career." Modric knows he's still got a lot to give, and AC Milan are still an absolutely huge club despite their performance this season. So yeah, I would love to see this one personally. Same as you.
Yeah, and I just think it makes sense. Allegri's coming in. He's losing some key players. Manuel, like we said, might be out the door. Hernandez might be out the door, like we said. Reinders, which we'll come on to next because I've touched on it now, might be out the door. And then you're bringing in a player of his age, of his experience to try and help the side get back into Europe. Despite the fact he's 39, he made 57 appearances in all competitions last season, 27 of those starts in all comps. So with no Europe, would he likely get about 30 matches played in the league? Yeah, probably. And you know what? I think it's probably worth it because he's apparently not asking for crazy amount of money either. So I really like this move. I think I probably would have to just be a little bit cautious because of his age and put it in sensible rather than great. Is that fair, do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same. So more than happy with sensible.
Okay, Luka Modric in sensible. I just cannot wait to see him in that AC Milan kit. I think it'd be so great. But yes, let's move on from him and talk about. Got to find him on my list. Tijani Reinders from AC Milan to Manchester City. A fee reportedly agreed for 46.3 million euros for the 26-year-old who got 10 goals and 4 assists last season in Serie A and 3 goals in the Champions League. And honestly, I haven't watched a lot of him, but the bits that I have seen, he looks absolutely incredible. And I think that potentially for 46.3 million, Man City might have a bargain on their hands.
Yeah, again, not only is this an absolutely superb player, somebody who can do almost everything in midfield. I think he is the exact sort of player that Manchester City need. Somebody to really drive that ball into the box. When you've got Rodri sort of being that metronome, maybe passing it into your wingers, you need that penetration through the middle as well. And I think Reinders does that absolutely superbly. And I think he can also potentially become that player that they've missed with through Gundogan in terms of sort of crashing into the box and scoring goals, because he's a really, really good finisher, Reinders, as well. He likes to pop up in the box. He likes to play all over that midfield. And yeah, I think this is exactly what Man City need and the quality of player that they need to. Yeah, really like this one.
Yeah, it's quite frightening because we were talking about Ryan Shirky, and if it's a midfield of maybe Rodri, Reinders, and Shirky, and maybe you could play Shirky with maybe a Foden, and then you have the backup to Rodri of Nico Gonzalez, plus the fact that I didn't even mention the likes of Mateo Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan, their futures might be in a little bit in doubt, but they could also be there and part of the squad. That is a frightening Manchester City rebuild, and that is a frightening midfield that they've got there on their hands. I don't think it's quite game changer because I think when we talk about game changers, maybe Haaland to City was an absolute game changer. I think Reinders for the position, for what he can bring, absolutely a positive move and one which will fill and probably solve many problems that they've had this season. I think it's in the maybe upper echelons of great move. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I can still understand because it is Manchester City. It's so difficult for them to sign a game changer. I think
Do you think he's a game changer?
if he's not game changer, he is clinging on to to get there. I think he is right at the top of great move. Then, if we want to go for that,
Okay, so I'll put Reinders at the top ahead of Brian and Bumo.
yeah, I think he's got to be. He's so good, Reinders. I think he could come into the Manchester City side and be that missing piece that I think turns them around from the form that they had last season that wasn't quite good enough.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, they're still in great moves, so I'm not going to complain. Let's just finish off Manchester City then. Let's do the left back, which they seems to be going to sign. Apparently, medical is scheduled for Saturday, and that is Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolverhampton Wanderers for a fee reported to be around £35 million. It's quite annoying because Man City are well and truly going to be back next season, and I think the rest of the league definitely needs to take notice, don't they?
Yeah, this is such a strange move and one I would not have expected at all. Not because he's not a good player or Manchester City like they do need a left back. I would say I think they need some fullbacks. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the right sort of player. He's like such a chaotic player, Ait Nouri. I think he is possibly one of the most attacking fullbacks in Europe, let alone in the Premier League. I love him. I think he's great. He's great to watch. He's great to throw in your fantasy team as well. I just did not. When I saw this, I was like, surely this. I was like laughing. This is still funny to me now. But I really like it as a move. I think he brings something that Manchester City don't have in terms of a fullback who really does like to stay wide and get forward and not get forward and invert. And I think it would give Gvardiol the opportunity to play in centre back, which I do think is his best position. So I like it. I think he's a really good squad player at the very minimum. And for a fee that's not crazy. 24 years old as well, so it'd still have some resaleability if needed as well. Um, yeah, strange, but good strange, I would say.
I think it definitely highlights the fact that I think Pep's style of football is changing, and I think he's doing it to adapt to the rest of the league as well. We saw when he first came to the Premier League that his style of play wasn't quite working. They finished fourth, which is a perfectly fine season, but for him and what he wants to achieve, it's not good enough. So he realized that he needed to adapt, and now I think he's adapting again. I think the whole league is becoming more intense, more physical, and I think that Ryan Nuri is definitely a part of that, and he's going to be bombing up and down the left hand side. And yeah, I think this is a very good move for Man City, especially for the fee. And 35 million nowadays is probably just a drop in the ocean, especially for a club like Man City. So the fact that they're adding 4 goals and 7 assists to the side as well, yeah, not a problem with it whatsoever. I think it probably will work out. I'm unsure how good it's going to be though, and I'm because Nico Riley's played so well for them so far, and because Gavardo can play there, but I think Gavardo and Diaz as centre back partnership is frightening. So I'd want to keep Gavardo as centre back, but if Right Nuri comes in, he can maybe rotate with the likes of O'Reilly. I am not maybe a great move, but the upper end of sensible transfer.
Yeah, I'm on exactly the same wavelength as you there, mate. I think the players that are in great move as well are better moves. I just think it's a transfer that works. So yeah, I would go sensible too.
Would you put him at the very top, so ahead of Joe Bellingham, Kevin De Bruyne, Juan Garcia, and Modric? Whereabouts do you think you would put him?
Yeah, I would put him up higher up because I think he's a little bit more exciting as well, and I think that's something that's got to come into account too. So yeah, I would put him at the top of sensible.
Okay, right, and very top of sensible. Should we do another left back then? Should we do Liverpool and Milos Kerkez, who there's not a here we go yet, but he has been rumoured to be joining them for a number of weeks now. Liverpool interest has been going on prior to just the summer window opening. 38 matches played, 38 starts, 2 goals, 5 assists, 21 years old. I think that's the thing which is frightening because if Liverpool pull off the deal for roughly around £40 million and then they sign him, there's a chance where he could be Liverpool's starting left back for at least another decade, and I think that's a bit which is really exciting for me.
Yeah, this one has been rumoured before the rumours even happened because he is just such a good fit. He's an amazing athlete, a really good runner, strong, great carrier, a very traditional fullback a very traditional modern fullback, if that makes any sense, in terms that he likes to stay wide, he likes to cross the ball in, and he is just that perfect Robbo replacement, I would say, in that sense. I think he brings all of those great qualities that Robbo had at his prime that maybe haven't quite been there in the last few seasons. So this one just makes sense, and it's annoying. It's annoying, to be honest, how nice this transfer is in a way.
Yeah, but almost that was what I was struggling with because it makes sense. It's Premier League proven. He's at a great age and he's going to fit in that side and go straight into that starting 11 and improve it. So when you think about where you're going to put this, it almost doesn't make sense to not put it into great, but how much impact, I suppose, because of how good Liverpool have been, is he going to make on that team? And that's where I wasn't sure because when I saw the initial links to Milan, I was like, absolutely perfect. And so in terms of this tier list, you could arguably put him into great move. But at the same time, it makes so much sense that it's almost sensible. There's a bit of duality there. So I'm not actually quite sure. And I need a bit of help because I think my Liverpool bias will take over. So where would you like to put Milos Kerkez, mate?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think I think he improves Liverpool more than Ait Nuri improves City. I would say, because I do feel like it is a weakness of yours, and I do think as good as you have been last season, I think you could still do better, and I think Kirkers could definitely add to that. I would put him in great move, maybe towards the lower end of great move because it does feel a little bit more sensible than sort of a game changer. But yeah, I would put him just into great move. I think.
Okay, so I think I would have him ahead of Leroy Sané because I still don't see that one personally. Ahead of Benjamin Sesko? Probably not.
No, maybe not because even though Sesko is riskier, I think there is more of a chance, like you say, of him having that bigger impact.
Yeah, okay. Let's put Kirk then into great move, and you guys at home will be able to see where we put him in our tier list as I frantically draw another arrow. But let's move on from one side of Liverpool to the other with Everton, as they've been rumoured to be signing Matt O'Reilly from Brighton and Hove Albion. And I'll be honest, yes, he hasn't had the best of seasons. It's been hampered heavily due to injury. But the rumours with the move away, I was kind of wasn't quite believing. And then also his quotes from as we're recording this yesterday on Wednesday, the fact that he said he's not happy with where he's playing on the team, he prefers to play number 8, and he's been playing too much in the 10 or out wide, and he doesn't quite like it. And it's almost kind of, I don't know, there's no smoke without fire, and it seems like there could potentially be something to Matt O'Reilly leaving Brighton this year.
Yeah, this is a funny move. Like you said, when he was at Celtic, he was absolutely fantastic, getting over 30 goal contributions in the league alone, playing as a number 8, as he said. Um, how much O'Reilly would be to Everton? I'm not actually sure. It was £26 million from Celtic to Brighton. It was Celtic's record sale. Would Brighton be looking to make a profit if they sell him? If they are going to sell him, is it going to be let's just get rid and cut our losses a bit? He clearly isn't happy. We don't want players who are unhappy in the dressing room. I think if Everton could get him for around that fee, I think if Brighton are looking to make a bit more of a profit, it could be a bit more risky, but I think this would be quite a nice fit, actually. I think he could be the right sort of player to go into the Everton midfield and do a really good job. And if it's around 25 million, I think this could be quite nice.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the fee's astronomical, and I don't think, yeah, like you said, Brighton could really ask for much more than they spent on him from Celtic. I have questions about though if this were to happen, if it is the priority for what Everton need. I think Adrissa Gueye has been absolutely fantastic for them in midfield. I think James Garner does a great job as well alongside him. I suppose they have lost Oriol Mangala, so yeah, they probably do need some midfield reinforcement. But I think a striker first and more attacking options are more needed. But yeah, if this were to happen, I'm not sure if it would be a great move, but at the very least, it's a sensible transfer. I don't think this is risky or just don't do it. I think if he was available, I think Everton should go and try and do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say sensible. I think it would be a nice move for them, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then let's move on to who should we go into next? Who have we not done? Let's talk about Jamie Bino Gittins from Borussia Dortmund to Chelsea. How many attackers do Chelsea need? Nobody knows, but they did return Jadon Sancho to Manchester United, paid the £5 million penalty fee because they didn't want to sign him for £25 million. But they're interested in Giddens for 50 to 60 million euros reportedly. Still only 20 years of age, got a fantastic future in front of him, looks like a really promising talent. What do you make of the player and the fit to Chelsea then, mate?
The player, I think, is really good. I like him. I think he's a great dribbler, he's a great carrier. 15 goal contributions in the league and Champions League this season just gone, so not particularly elite, but I still think decent. Just why not Chelsea? Just not Chelsea. Just go somewhere else. They've got too many wingers and signing too many forwards, and it just is. I can just see this signing just not working at all. It's sort of delaying his development in his career a decent amount. And I would just kind of say, this is just a don't do it for both sides. Just don't do it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
I'll be honest, I had a very similar feeling as you when I heard about this transfer. I think he's an incredibly talented player. And honestly, if he went to Chelsea, I think from the club's perspective, it's a good move, you know? But I think what I really want from Chelsea is, annoyingly, because I don't support them, but I think there is potential for Chelsea to do really well, and I'm talking about like maybe challenge for the league if they get their transfers right, because they already have such a great squad with a few gems here and there. They could be absolutely brilliant. And Giddens, while incredibly promising, isn't the finished article yet. He'd then be behind. Who would he be behind? Pedro Neto, Noni Madueke, Jack Felix is returning to the club, and Kunku's still there. There's just too many, and I don't think it makes sense.
Still got Mudryk as well, who they spent 90 million on. Mudryk still there.
Yeah, Mudryk's still there. He's obviously having some off the field issues. They're also linked with another player. We're going to be talking about this on this list. Yeah, I do agree. I think it's just don't do it. It doesn't make sense for Chelsea right here, right now, and they're in a position where they could do some special things. As annoying that is to say, so Giddens could be a special player, but they've got so many of them already. They're probably fine. So okay, we'll put Giddens into don't do it. Our first player and don't do it. Okay. And then the player I was talking about just now, that Chelsea have also been linked to, but the rumours, so we're going to be talking about, is João Pedro from Brighton and Hove Albion to Newcastle United. It came out initially at a fee of upwards of £60 million Brighton are looking for the 23-year-old. I'm not thrilled by this one, I'll be honest, and it's mainly the fee for me.
Yeah, I don't like this transfer either. I do think that Brighton should move him on. I don't think he quite fits what Brighton are exactly trying to do. I think Brighton need somebody who is more of a target man and is a good hold up play, I would say. And I don't think João Pedro quite brings that. He's sort of someone who likes to drop a little bit deeper. And I think he can sort of interrupt a few of the spaces that we see the 10 and the wingers come into at Brighton. I think he's a fantastic player. And I think at another club, I think he really could thrive. 70 million euros for only 10 goals in the Premier League this season. I'm not convinced. To Newcastle, who already have Alexander Isak, a player who has said that he wants to be the first choice striker at a club. For me, this is quite a few big red flags on this one, I would say.
Yeah, I also think the 10 goals and 6 assists are great. But then again, when you think about transferability, and I had this with Mbumo, he's got 6 of those were penalties. Is he going to be taking penalties for Newcastle next season when he's just joined the club? Maybe, because he's really good at them. But if you take the 6 penalties away, and yeah, I know it's harsh, but it's 4 goals and 6 assists. That's 10 attacking returns. For a 23-year-old who's, young in age, but, quite wealthy in experience, for £60 million, he's versatile, so he could do a job in multiple positions. But I just don't think it's going to match. And I think if Newcastle do apparently have more money available to them than they have had in previous windows, but I just don't think they should be spending 60 million plus and giving it to Brighton, who don't have Europe and could potentially be challenging next season as well. I actually think this is another one where it's don't do it for me. It just doesn't feel right. It's too soon. It's too much of a risk, too much money. I just don't like it. I'm putting it at don't do it for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just doesn't. It doesn't fit the player or the club or the money. This is a big don't do it for me as well.
Okay, then let's go to the South Coast and let's talk about Bournemouth's Ilya Zabani, who I feel really bad for Bournemouth, honestly, because they've already lost Dean Huijsen. They're heavily linked to be losing Milos Kerkez to Liverpool and to lose Zabani to PSG. I did not see that one coming, but actually, when you look at Zabani, he's actually a quality centre back, very underrated, maybe overshadowed a little bit by Huijsen. So I can see why PSG are coming and why Lewis Campos apparently flew out to Bournemouth to have talks with him.
Yeah, I like you said, I think massively, massively underrated at Bournemouth. I think he's been superb. And I can't believe he's only 22. That really surprised me when I first heard his age profile. Um, this is a difficult one for me because I think he's a fantastic player and PSG are a fantastic side. Does he go there and does he play much? I'm not too sure. With Pacho and Marquinhos feeling like they're the two starting centre backs 100%, where does Zabani fit into there? Marquinhos has still got a good few number of years in him and is the club sort of legend there, you could say, at this stage. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on this one again. I'm not convinced. Zabani could go to a bigger club, and if it was a different team where he would fit straight in, then I think it would be a really good move. Just not sure if the fit is right, really.
Oh, okay. Um, so I was when I saw this move, I was like, yeah, do you know what? It's one move. I felt like almost in my instincts that you have to make because yeah, I agree. He's not going to be starting ahead of Marquinhos and Pacho. But if I think about their backup options at PSG, they've got Lucas Hernandez and they've also got Lucas Barauda, both left-footed, left centre backs slash left backs. And so really, there's no cover for Marquinhos. And when you consider the fact that League is trying to give their teams a greater chance of doing well in Europe to improve their coefficient and improve the money, then as a result, the league gets they're giving them midweeks off, weekends sorry off before Europa League games and Champions League games. I think there's going to be a bit more rotation, especially considering PSG are expected to dominate the league, and considering they just won the Champions League. I mean, he's only one injury away from potentially starting week in week out, and I just thought to myself when I heard the transfer, is PSG where they are at the moment under Luis Enrique, and maybe it's recency biased because they just won the Champions League, is it too big a move to turn down? That was my only feeling because yeah, he could obviously go somewhere else and he could start week in week out, and I think he's more than capable of doing that for a top 6 or 8 side in the Premier League and playing Champions League football regularly. But I just thought that PSG was too good to turn down, so I actually had him in sensible transfer because the impact that he's going to have isn't going to be that great on the PSG side if we're being realistic. Not yet, but maybe in the future, in a few years. But I just thought this was one that it's a very sensible transfer in my opinion. And if I was a Barney's agent, I'd be like, go for it, mate. Honestly, I would be telling him to do it.
Yeah, I suppose for PSG, I think it's a very sensible transfer. I'm just not sure if Sabani bought how good it could be for his his playing career. If he goes there, I mean, he's going to win trophies, and they are the best side in Europe, probably by a very decent amount at the moment. Um, so, like you said, that's very difficult to turn down. I'm happy with sensible. I would just not be surprised if maybe in 3 or 4 years' time he hasn't played much and then he just gets another move to somewhere else and maybe he gets a little bit forgotten about, which is just a shame because I think he's been so good this season. Um, but yeah, let's go for sensible. Let's go for sensible.
Yeah, and I think the worst thing that could ever happen is that he just goes, doesn't quite get the game time, leaves in 3 4 years, and he still probably leaves for a fee of upwards of £30 million when he's, what, I don't know, maybe 25 and still in the
Yeah, yeah.
prime of his career to go. So I don't think this experience, game time or not, is going to be a bad one for his career. It might not go exactly how he wants it to be, but I think it's worth the risk despite the fact. So yeah, let's put him into sensible. I'll ask you where he fits in sensible at the end. But let's move on then to Luis Diaz. He's being rumoured with the move to Barcelona. Barcelona have apparently come in and asked if they could have a conversation with Liverpool about a fee for Luis Diaz. Liverpool rebuffed the conversation immediately and said no, he's not for sale. He has also recently been linked with the move to Al Nassr for €85 million as maybe a benchmark fee of what Liverpool may sell him for, but it is Barcelona. That's the one where apparently that if you listen to rumours that he's been linked to the most. 28 years old to Barcelona. What do you make of it? Do you think Liverpool first of all, do you think Barcelona is a good move for him? And secondly, do you think Liverpool should sell him?
I mean, at Barcelona, he's not gonna be enough. He is gonna be a squad player. He's not getting ahead of Rafinha or Yamal at the moment, anyway. But it's a lot of money for a 28-year-old, as you said. But then he's also a fantastic player, and he has played really well for Liverpool. And I really like him as a player. I think when he's on form, he's one of the best wingers in the league. How often does that form come about, and how often is he like a regular starter? Obviously, fighting position with Gakpo and Jota can play out there as well. It's a weird one. This I don't really know what to think of this. If it was me, I would say this is a transfer that just doesn't feel right for either side. Um, I don't think Barca would want to pay enough. I don't think he'll get enough playtime there. I don't know. I really don't know on this one. I'm don't know where to put it. So as a Liverpool fan, Mev, please tell me your view. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to summarize really quickly. The fact that he's going to go to Barcelona, and Barcelona are definitely looking for a backup to Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Yamal. And the best way to do that is to find a player who can fit and be versatile and play under numerous positions. Because really, the only players I have at the moment who could probably do that are Ferran Torres and Dani Olmo in terms of backups. So I can understand why Barcelona want him. The issue why I don't think Barcelona should do it, the fact is he's 28. So when you're thinking about the price that you're probably going to pay to get him out of Liverpool, it's going to be so much that is it actually going to be worth it? And best case scenario, someone gets injured and he does a decent job for a little while. He's not ever going to be replacing any of those front three that are already there. And considering the fee, considering the age, considering the financial situation that Barcelona find themselves in, can they go and find a younger player, probably who's going to be making less money than if they were to sign Luis Diaz, and for a fee that's going to be less as well? I think Barcelona absolutely could do that. They just have to be a little bit smart about it. I don't think they should go for Diaz. I don't think they should even go for Rashford, who they're also linked to. Just for sign someone else. And I think if Liverpool were to sell Diaz, then they do sell them for a really high price. And in that case, I would go, do you know what, fair enough. But for like 50, maybe even 60 million euros, I'm probably not sure. But for if it's 85, yeah. So I don't think Barcelona should do it. I think there could be potential upside, so I'm going to put it in risky business. But I just don't think this is one that Barcelona should be doing, if I'm being honest. I think it's these kind of moves that got them into the mess they're in now. So I just don't think for Barcelona it's a good move.
Yeah, I think that's a really good summary. I think risky business feels right, especially if they are going to have to putting out a large fee, which because Slot doesn't really want to sell him, they are going to have to do. It's not like they've come out and said he's open to a move. So yeah, risky business feels right, definitely.
And then let's move on to the final player. And this is a bit of a different one, which is why I left him to last. It's because it's a player who isn't moving, but because he's been in all the headlines and all the talk, we thought it was appropriate to still include him. That's Bruno Fernandes, who will not be moving to Saudi Arabia and Al Hilal, and he'll be staying at Manchester United this season. It is one that I've seen that has divided opinion on the internet because the fee that was being rumoured was somewhere between 80 and 120 million pounds. And that is a lot of money to turn down for any player, let alone Bruno Fernandes, who is 30, turns 31 in September. What side of the fence do you sit on, Tobes? Do you think you would have sold him if you're Manchester United, or would you have kept him?
It's such a difficult one. I remember when we first discussed this, I said I think they shouldn't have sold him, and I don't think it's the right place for the club to be to selling potentially who is one of their only performing players, maybe one of their only players who plays very passionately at the moment, which I think is a very important thing for Man United at the moment. But £100 million for a 30-year-old is pretty mental. It's really it adds a lot of questions as well. Him staying at United, in terms of where is he going to play. If Mbuemo and Cunha come in, it probably seems like Fernandes is going to drop into one of those midfield roles, which will be interesting and slightly different to potentially how he's played this season, where he's had a fantastic season, 29 goal contributions in the Prem and Europa League, and being their best player by far. It's the same when it was. It's a different because it's the same but different with Mo Salah when that bid came in from Saudi. However much it was, 150 million. It felt like maybe Liverpool should have cashed in, but the amount that Salah can still do for Liverpool, and probably glad that you didn't sell him in that instance, is the same going to be for Fernandes if he was to go. How much would United really miss him, and is he one of those players who is irreplaceable? You're not going to be able to get a player come in and have that much of an impact or care that much about the club, the same that Fernandes has done for United, and sometimes it's difficult to weigh that up against a bid and their transfer price, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's really down the middle on whether they should have accepted it or not. I think now that they have got Cunha over the line, and it looks like Mbuma has prioritised Manchester United, if they get those two players, then that confirms he's going to be playing in the middle, in the double pivot in midfield. And is that his best position? I think in some ways his versatility has kind of hurt him and also hurt us as the viewers, to be like, we don't really quite know where he fits. Whereas some of the other players that Amram has kind of shifted around, I kind of go, yeah, I think Ahmad's going to be a right wing back next season. I think that Maguire and Deleta are going to be central centre backs. I kind of see Copenhagen a little bit further forward. But Fernandes, because he's so good, he can fit in that double pivot, but he can also be further forward. But is that position in the midfield? Is that his best position at 30, 31 in September? Can he go up and down? Can he do that job for Man United? And can he be the provider and not the receiver of all those final chances? I think he can, but if it's 100-ish million, is that too much to turn down? It's a difficult one because we've got to find a way to put this somewhere in our tier list. So for Man United to keep Bruno Fernandes, I think I would keep him, but the fee was so high that rejecting it, considering the financial situation that Man United apparently are seeming to be in, I think it's actually risky business to be keeping Fernandes. Oh, that might be controversial.
No, I agree with you. I've been pretty strongly leaning towards that they should have kept him, but I do still think it is a big risk with the money. The money is the only thing that is like a risk. Is should they have cashed in, and essentially that could pay for almost Cunha and Mbuemo. And in terms of the long term future for United, that probably would have been sensible to do. So keeping him as well and still spending that money, it is a risk. It is a risk. It could pay off, and I think it probably will, but it's still a big risk. Yeah, so I think risky business is fair.
Yeah, but you got to remember that they're probably going to get money from Marcus Rashford. Hopefully, for United's sake, they can sell on Jadon Sancho, even though it's returning. You got Anthony as well. So maybe they'll recoup some of that money. But if they don't, and then they keep a hold of Bruno Fernandes, then it's more of a, oh, God, maybe we should have tried to push him harder out the door. But he's only got 2 years left on this contract, so we'll see if they can maybe give him a new contract, keep his value up, or maybe they should have accepted this. Only time will tell. Cool. Well, that's it for the video. We've rambled on long enough. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and make sure to join us next week.